actually to draw our attention to the Donald J. Hall Sculpture Park because the weather is nice, and from what I understand, tonight's talk may actually include a little sojourn out into the sculpture park. So if you're willing and game, I think tonight's speakers will be happy to bring you out there. Tonight's presentation is the third in a series that we call Behind the Scene, and that scene is spelled S-E-E-N. It's a series that puts emphasis on fantastic conservation projects, the projects that you don't really know the stories about, but really impact all of the pieces that are, or many of the pieces that we have on view in the galleries here. Tonight, again, as I mentioned, our attention is turned to some of the largest objects in the museum's collections, those that are in the Donald J. Hall Sculpture Park outside. Those works of art need upkeep, being exposed to the elements, and we have great members of our objects conservation team who keep those objects looking fantastic and in a state that is able to weather the conditions. Most of tonight's presentation will be given by Alicia Halligan, but to introduce Alicia and talk a little bit more about all of the great things that are done in objects conservation, please join me in welcoming Joe Rogers. Try to remember a lot of stuff.
Thank you for being here. My name is Joe Rogers. I work in the Objects Conservation Department, and Objects Conservation is basically anything that's three-dimensional. So we work on anything from the outdoor sculpture to Greek antiquities like the lion, or furniture and ceramics. So it can be the whole gamut. I wanted to introduce Alicia. She's a 2011 graduate of the Kansas City Art Institute in animation and art history. And she has worked here for, this will be her third year here. She's actually been probably the best sculpture tech we've had. Very dedicated, very hardworking. As Adam said, probably go outside if anybody's interested after the lecture, and we can show different examples of the work that we've done. So I want to turn it over to Alicia. Here you go.
It's my job basically to go out and kind of take care of the sculptures, make sure there's no damage, and to either report any damage and to fix them later on if they are hurt. So tonight, well, this year is the 25th anniversary of the Donald J. Hall Sculpture Park. So we both thought it would be appropriate to talk about all of the maintenance kind of procedures that we go through each and every year to keep the park its kind of sparkling icon in the city that it is. And so if Joe wants to start out talking about why sculpture maintenance is important.
I actually forgot what I was going to do up here. This is kind of interesting. This is the sculpture we have in the background. This piece was purchased in 1955. The image on the left you see is the surface that was on the sculpture when it came to the museum's collection. Very dark, very black, probably the original patina on the piece. 30 years later, after being exposed to the elements and not being maintained on a regular basis, you can see what it looks like. All the corrosion that's developed on the surface. So this is one reason we had so.
No, we can't hear you. Joe, can you speak a little bit?
This piece was treated. Again, it's been treated a couple different times, and this is what it currently looks like now. So I just want to give an example of what the elements will do, particularly the bronze. It's a very reactive metal, and it's mostly composed of copper.
Okay, so going back to my daily processes in terms of what I do in the park, every day when I go out in the park, I will go to every single one of the sculptures. I will wipe them down with a damp rag that's just a clean rag and water. to remove any of the dirt buildup, any excess brine that might have happened from animals in the area, of rain, snow, and whatnot. During that time, I also inspect the sculptures to see if there's any new damage that might have happened since the last time I was there. This includes cracks, scratches, sometimes with the shuttlecocks, which I will talk about a little bit later, they will leak resin, and that's kind of something that we keep track of. I also kind of look just for anything that might have happened naturally, so maybe any corrosion that might have been appearing on some of the sculptures, I will take note and take care of, usually later on in the day. Some of the things that I normally bring out into the park are kind of shown here. Again, my main kind of tools that you always see me out with is water and a rag. I usually carry around the kind of garden spritzer on the left-hand side during the summer mainly. Mainly because there's more grime buildup during the summertime than the winter or the fall. This kind of is also convenient to give the sculptures kind of a quick sponge bath, basically, which I will also be talking about a little bit later, too. Some of the other products that you can kind of see here, over here, we have ethanol. This is mainly used for our stainless steel sculpture, Ferment by Roxy Paint. People really enjoy this sculpture. They like to hug it a lot, so I will find a lot of, especially on kind of kid level, very greasy, dirty kid handprints. Occasionally I will find a face print or two for people really wanting to get up close to poor Ferment. Down here we have a magic eraser. This is good, again, to use for the shuttlecocks to get rid of some of their, some of the dirt that gets caked on them, as well as some of the resin buildup that will stain the sculpture. The bronze wool and the chisels and scalpels down here, these were actually made by a previous tech that came before me. These tools are used to scrape away corrosion products on some of the bronzes. When you see that green buildup that Joe was showing earlier, I'll go out with the bronze wool and kind of rub it out, and it will easily take out those areas. The stars and the eco-wax shown here are used, again, on our bronzes. For the most part, all of the bronzes, especially the Moors, are coated in a eco-wax black, which is kind of a protective coat for the sculpture before we wax them. Occasionally they will get scratched through that coating, and so we will have to go through, take off all the wax, recoat it with the acrylic, let it dry, and then re-wax that bit of the sculpture. And then again, just water, mainly because I'm out there during the summer, is my most active months during the year, so I'm usually spending most of the day out there. And it's just another convenient way to kind of bring stuff around the park. Seasonally, we mainly have our seasonal activity again during the summer. It's just the easiest time for us to work with the sculptures. At that point, the bronzes are easiest to work with because they need to be a certain temperature in order to wax. So some of the seasonal things that we do is I will do as kind of a group outing. We will have annual sculpture washing. So this is mainly done with the shuttlecocks as well as the thinker, which is right outside here. I will do waxings as part of my seasonal work, both regular cold waxing and hot waxing treatments. treatment, which kind of protects the wood as well as kind of keeps its moisture content at a stable level for it to survive outside. And then with 3 bowls in specific, we also do a graphite treatment to keep its dark kind of patina color. So going on to sculpture washing, unfortunately I don't have a good picture of the thinker being washed. This one I do by myself every fall and spring. What I'll do is I'll go out with a small painting scaffolding, so you might occasionally see me out there. I'll go around all 4 sides, give the thinker a sponge bath with the Orbis that's shown here on the left-hand side. Orbis is it's a mild detergent. It's not harmful to the sculpture at all, which is why we use it. It's also actually used for washing show horses as well. So just in case you're looking for that. Some of the other tools we use here for the shuttlecocks is the scaffolding that you see that I'm on the right-hand side here. Obviously regular garden hose, as well as things that you would find normally at a car wash. You can kind of relate cleaning the shuttlecocks is kind of working on a giant car wash with scaffolding. It takes about 3 to 4 of us in order to work on each of the shuttlecocks. It takes us about if we start at about 8 or 9 in the morning, we get done at about noon. So it takes a good morning with just 4 people. We also have a series of different ladders that we use. So as you can see, we have a variety of different ladders. You can see Paul here, who is another one of the objects conservators, who is kind of the one in charge of the shuttlecocks, carefully scrubbing it with a kitchen brush. And then we also have Joe up in the scaffolding, kind of rinsing off the Orbis as we go along. In order to aid us in getting all of the nooks and crannies that we can reach, we've actually had a specially engineered shuttlecock ladder created. So this will actually attach to the inside of each of the shuttlecocks, so we can get into the very high places in order to clean as much of the grime as possible. We only do this once a year, and so when we go up there, there's a lot of different types of grime problems going on, whether it be dirt from the rain, whether it be kind of dirt that will build up actually on the underside of the wall here. This is kind of a big dirt spot that was created over the summer from our landscape group, kind of cutting the grass nearby. It would tend to blow into the sculpture and create a little bit of a mess there. And then we also have a lot of bird detritus that will happen to the birds. I haven't seen it as often. I think I might have a picture here of a couple birds sitting on top of the shuttlecocks, so they like to perch on there too. I should also point out here, one of our previous interns here is standing in the shuttlecock. For some people, this might be a little bit stunning, considering we asked not to stand to kind of climb around in the shuttlecocks, but I'll get to that a little bit more later. But we do take careful measures to make sure that we aren't kind of causing more damage to the sculpture as we clean it. So I'm going to go into my regular waxings during the spring and the fall. Cold waxing is basically just taking wax straight out of the can, usually with a brush. With a few of our sculptures, there have either been requests from the artists, or it's just easier in some places in order to take it out with a rag instead and wax the sculpture by hand with a rag instead of a brush. So, 2 different types of wax that we use is butcher's wax, as you see here, this is kind of a general wax. You used to be able to find it more in the hardware store. They've kind of gotten slightly scarcer, but this is kind of a multi-use product that is used on a variety of different types of things like leather and wood and kind of furniture and flooring. These are mainly used on the Moore sculptures, as you can see below here, and as well as Turbo and Ferryman, the crags that are on top of our block building. Usually if it's not specifically requested by an artist, we will end up using butcher's wax most often when we are either cold waxing or hot waxing. The other type of wax that we use is Renaissance wax. This is kind of the fancier wax of the two. With butcher's wax, when you buff it out, you will get a shiny appearance, as you can see with Turbo at the top here. You get this really nice kind of gleaming effect when you're done polishing it. With the Renaissance wax, it actually creates a buff appearance after you wax and you buff with a brush. We only have a few sculptures outside that use this wax. Storage at the top here and 30 standing figures below are used primarily Renaissance wax because of artist request. They like the appearance better and for kind of the look that they're trying to create with their piece. The Renaissance wax is also the more expensive wax. This is because it's created by the British Museum, and so we have to get it shipped in. So the bigger of these little guys here cost about $25 pop, which, and we only go through like one or two per kind of season waxing, depending on what needs to be done. So here, I'm kind of going through the steps of waxing. I will wax both the sculpture and if it has a bronze base, I will also wax the base. After that, I will go, after the wax is dry, either a little while later or I will actually come back the very next morning when it's cooler out, especially when it gets to the warmer months. I will go and buff it. And so, as everybody likes to tell me, wax on, wax off. But I will go through every single one of the bronzes in the park, doing the same process. We'll have interns come through and also kind of work together on that. Next, I'm moving on to hot waxing. This is kind of the more dangerous, adventurous version of waxing. It's a process that allows the wax to seep deeper into the corrosion products and makes a darker appearance to the sculpture. It also helps open, heat will also help open up the pores in the sculpture in order for more wax to seep in as well. The tools that we use in hot waxing are very similar to the tools that we use in regular cold waxing. As you can see, we use a variety of different brushes to kind of get in all the nooks and crannies. And for this, we mainly use the butcher's wax just because of how much we kind of end up accidentally going through at times. We also, for this, use a propane torch, and these are actually kind of handheld versions. With this process, I would not suggest doing this at home if you were interested. It's actually it's very dangerous, so I wouldn't attempt this one. With these, it's pretty much the same process. We'll heat up the metal for a few minutes, kind of getting it to the point where when we touch the brush with the wax to the metal, it will kind of melt and glide nicely on the side before we start applying the wax. So you can see on the left-hand side here is Jamie, our third-year intern from last year, and on the right myself, working on 2 different sculptures, doing the processes. We also try to keep the bases covered, as you can see here, with a variety of different either metal or cardboard or wood to keep the wax from dripping onto to the stone bases. You can also kind of see from different angles. As turbo here, you can see it turns matte almost instantly after it dries. So you can kind of see the difference. It's kind of hard to see from here, but you can kind of see the difference in color. You can see more of a mottled green texture going on at the bottom where I haven't finished this yet, and then on the top, you kind of get that darker, richer appearance of its original patina color. With our wood sculptures, we have a wood life extender treatment. This isn't really waterproofing, but it keeps the moisture content for each of the wood sculptures at the level that it needs to be in order for it to not completely rot outside. This also allows the sculptures to have an extended life period for many years to come. As you can see at the top here, we have kind of what the cans look like. These are kind of, you would use this on your deck too, in order to extend the life of your deck. So what we'll do is we'll pour it into these, again, garden spray canisters, and cover the ground in painter's plastic, as well as covering ourselves. I have gotten a lot of laughing at this whenever I go out into the park with Hannah is on my right-hand side here in this picture. We get a lot of kind of teasing for kind of the Tyvek suit. The reason we wear the Tyvek and the respirators is because the smell, first off, is very intense. It's not a bad smell. I would say it's more of a very wood stainy smell, but it's very intense. It's also very sticky. It dries clear, but it will stick to anything. So if you aren't wearing protective gear, you'll basically have to throw out whatever clothing you're currently wearing, and if you don't have your hair covered, chop off all of your hair because you will never ever get it out since it's so sticky and oily. So during this process, what we also do is we go into 3 bowls. This is what it looks like on the inside. With this one, I had gone down to go check the inside, make sure there was nothing wrong, as well as there's a couple little small grates at the bottom that we have to move around and check to make sure it isn't clogged with different leaf debris. In the right, top right-hand corner, we also check to see if there's any pieces falling off of 3 bowls at all. And you can see here, this is a very large piece that actually came off in the wind later on after this treatment was done. And so we still have yet to put it back on, but we will save these and reattach them later on in the season. So this is also Hannah kind of checking the bowls. As you can see here, this is the application process. We start from the top, we spray the insides 2 to 3 times, the outsides of each bowl 2 to 3 times, same with the totem pole. I think it takes about 16 cans, 16 to 20 cans, depending on the sculpture, to cover and saturate the sculpture. It will kind of, when when you're done, when you get this kind of plastic kind of haze that happens over the entire sculpture, you can kind of see it over here a little bit, kind of that milky color will appear across the entire sculpture, and that's when you know when it's saturated. Another thing that we do for 3 bowls is graphite treatment. This was how basically the artist applied the black graphite to give the sculpture kind of this patina. When it first starts out, this is actually how it looks, how it looked a couple days ago. As you can see right now, it's in need of another treatment. As you can see at the top here, there is a lot of the wood, the original wood color being exposed, as well as kind of down in the far corner. When we do this, again, we wear the tie back, but this time we use kind of spray adhesive, and what we'll do is we'll take the bucket, as you can see with Jafang, one of our former interns here, she's holding a small bucket of graphite and a brush, as well as the cans of spray adhesive. And what they'll do is they'll spray and then add the graphite material to all of the areas that need to be covered. And then they'll go through with either another dry brush or wool and kind of scrape and give it more of a texture to it. So here you can see is their finished after look with 3 bowls, and as you can see, it's a lot darker than how it is at the moment. I'm going to move on to kind of specific maintenance issues in the park. These can be natural issues, again, with the corrosion that Joe was talking about earlier. These can be weather-related issues, so like with 3 bowls, sometimes we will have pieces fall off in the wind when we get the high wind coming through. And then also when the wildlife or pets or even humans interact with the sculptures, we have to kind of step in and take care of the problems. So some of the natural issues that we have, on the top left-hand corner, we have one of the shuttlecocks. The shuttlecocks leak resin. It's kind of a natural thing that they do. The shuttlecocks are made out of fiberglass and stainless steel, so their feathers are made of fiberglass, and that's what's causing the resin to leak out. So we've drilled holes. You can actually see very tiny hole here in the picture. Those will leak the resin out, and I'll have to come through and either wipe it off or, again, with the magic eraser, kind of wipe away the staining issues that we have here. So you can kind of see that outside with a few of our, with some of the shuttlecocks more clearly. They've kind of had this ever since we've installed them. We're not quite sure exactly why, other than it's just natural for them.
Well, it's untreated resin is not fully cured, and that's why we think we're having that problem in place. It's been a problem from the first year that we've had it, so they've been here
1994.
long time.
Another natural issue we have here in Seated Woman, who is kind of at the very far end of the corner here, over by Manuel Cleaver and Oak. She has a problem with her lap. She retains a lot of water in her lap. Usually, again, we will drill a hole to kind of help the water drain out. With her, however, we're kind of unable to do that just because there's no good place, as you can kind of see on her lap area, that it wouldn't be obvious that we've drilled a hole there. But she will retain water, and I will come through and I will sop it up. But unfortunately, because she retains the water the way she does, it kind of develops the red the red patina that happens. It's not natural to the rest of the sculpture, but it's kind of an unfortunate effect of having um, standing water, sitting there for long periods of time. And again, here's some more of the resin leakage that happens with the shuttlecocks. With pets and wildlife, this is one of the things that I take care of during my daily walks to the park. Again, I tend to clean up a lot of bird poop. I also clean up a lot of squirrel urine, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner. These will, if left for a long period of time, will actually kind of eat away at the sculpture, whether it be painted, like with the Calder on the left-hand side, or will start eating at the actual patina of the bronzes, as you can see below with the squirrel urine. And so we have actually gotten with pieces like totem head, which is one of the pieces on the south side. We've actually gotten a lot of stainage on the base from natural instances like that. Occasionally, this hasn't happened in a very long time, but occasionally there have been problems with people letting their dogs run wild, and the dogs will actually come and kind of harm the sculptures as well. So going on to human interactions with the sculptures. These are kind of a variety of different things. We work with the landscaping crew very hard to kind of make sure that they don't do anything to harm the sculptures at all. And we kind of make sure that anything that they put down for the grass or the trees don't get near the sculptures because they can be very harmful. For people playing on the sculptures and kind of more accidental damages, we take care of that too. And then occasionally we'll have incidences of vandalism in the park as well, which luckily is very, very low. So we're very happy for that. So with the fertilizers, as you can see here, this is Totem Head. Its base was hurt, that was in the 80s. That was hurt by fertilizer. When the landscaping crew comes through, they'll kind of throw fertilizer pellets. If those get soaked with water, it will immediately kind of eat at the bronze and eat right through the patina, which is very, as you can see, very harmful and damaging to the landscaping crew, or to the sculptures. So we try to make sure that the landscapers have a certain perimeter in order to keep the sculptures safe. Same goes with grass. It can also be very acidic to the sculptures too, so if left on for a large period of time, it can also do harm. With people who accidentally play on the sculptures, it's kind of a thing that will happen. Even though we want people to enjoy the sculptures, we just don't want them to play on them, but and the reason for that is when you step on a sculpture, as you can see at the bottom here on the left-hand side, you have, even if you think you don't have anything on your shoes, you might have pieces of stone, pieces of grit that are in the treads of your shoes that will scrape and cause very large scratches in the bronze, sometimes going right through the patina and into the actual bronze. This is also true of the shuttlecocks too. On the top portion here, you can actually see large scratches from where people will jump into the shuttlecocks and scrape them up, not only with their shoes, but all the rivets on their jeans will actually also scrape the paint right off of the shuttlecocks down to the metal. And the dirt will also tend to harm them as well. So this is an example of somebody jumping on one of the sculptures that are out on our terrace. This happened about 2 summers yeah, about 2 summers ago. This piece, I came out one day and noticed there was a glint in the patina of the base. On the left-hand side is kind of a more startling example. Here, it basically looks like on either side of the sculpture, somebody kind of stood up on it and kind of started doing the twist on the sculpture, and accidentally scratched all of these nicks into the surface of bronze. In order to fix this, I took off all the wax and kind of let it oxidize in order to make the appearance darker. And then after that was done, it was covered in another layer of wax to protect it. You can still kind of see the scratches. They're less evident, however. Again, another thing with scratches is occasionally they will it will go through the wax and through the ecrolac down to the patina or the bronze. So here is my recent predecessor, Anna, actually ecrolacking with the large spray gun, reclining connected forms. This piece was brought in about 2011, 2012, and she worked on this to kind of restore it back to its original look when it first came to the sculpture park. It was down on the east side, or the southeast side of the park, and it was kind of neglected for years, and so she brought it in and cleaned it up, as well as did some in-painting work to bring it back to its original look. So my last thing I'm going to talk about is vandalism. It's luckily very low in the sculpture park, for which we're very thankful for. We have had a couple incidences while I've been here. We go from the more mundane on the left side, which is just a sticker that's easily pulled off. While this might not seem like a big thing, at the same time, we don't know what adhesive is on the back, and so it could do potential damage to the sculpture. On the right-hand side is kind of the more extreme, where this is one of the legs of the folder. It was actually scratched by a key, and then just to give you a perspective in terms of how big that scratch is, that's actually about the size of a dinner plate. And then we have sheet piece. Sheet piece has actually gotten a lot of abuse over the years. Not only has it been carved into a couple times, occasionally this will happen. This hasn't happened in a very long time, luckily. This is a tag that I came across. It was luckily just a paint marker that was easily wiped off with the ethanol. But we will occasionally get stuff like this in the park too. Then just to wrap up, we love that you guys visit the park. We love that you guys like to look at the sculptures. We hope that we've kind of informed you more in terms of what we do out in the park in order to take care and maintain the sculptures for generations to come. And if you see me out there, feel free to say hi. I'm always welcome to answer strange questions.
The artist wants it to look like the day it was installed. There are many other artists that want their pieces to age and develop a patina on the surface. So what we do is we have documentation from when we acquired it. It could have been 40 or 50 years old by the time we had it, or even 100 years old. So no, we don't really, but we try, particularly with living artists, we try to ask them how they want their pieces to age.
Did I hear you right, in the hot wax process, you actually hit the sculpture with an open flame?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is that a bad experience?
It's really, well, I have singed the back of my hand, but that's why I wear the leather gloves. I think we will occasionally set a brush or two on fire, because the waxes are made with, the butcher wax, for instance, is made with mineral spirits, and so we get too close to that, the entire brush goes in light, and we've had to kind of chuck them.
Is there any damage to the sculpture?
No. No.
Not from the torch, but you can.
You have to
And,
keep it for a little
Yeah, if you left it for a long time, it would burn the corrosion products on it. We probably have that on the surface, where we're going to wax maybe 20 or 30 seconds, just enough to kind of warm the piece up, and then just to get it to melt. But yeah, you can, you could do that for sure.
in the back.
Have you considered some sort of more permanent protection? A spray on?
Did wax?
Yeah.
Alicia was showing the Incolac, the clear coat. That is more permanent, but it's still maybe has a 10 or 15-year lifespan before it starts to break down. So it's more permanent of the wax.
But I mean, is it more appropriate for a certain piece than another? Something that why you want to do it on that one?
Yeah, there are certain ones that it works better on. A lot of the more coated, particularly works very well with a lot of the more metallic pieces, like reclining figure hand, ones that are polished, that have more of a bright gold look. But yeah, that's the more permanent of the two. But it just depends on the artist's preference or what the object is. And honestly, sometimes a lot of these treatments go in and out of fashion. Some people don't like Incolac because you can see how shiny and glossy it is. And if you don't apply it right, it looks very plastic-like. And so that's why Alicia was showing some of the other pieces that the artists want. They do not want that look at all. So, but this is the more permanent of the two.
Do you wax the Etherlac pieces as well?
Yeah, you go ahead and wax on top of that too. And then that gives you just one additional layer of sort of a sacrificial moisture repellent. On that piece, it probably has Renaissance wax on it. Yeah, you would wax on the piece. And that would help create a barrier between, if someone handles it, so we can get any kind of grime or rip it off easily. But yeah, that piece is probably waxed.
It's within the park, but it may not be sculpture, right? What's the construction down at the bottom?
That is going to be a new sculpture. We can actually finally talk about this. That's going to be a new sculpture created by Robert Morris called Labyrinth. So it's going to be a giant glass labyrinth, kind of in the shape of a triangle, that will open late May. Yes. The difference between the labyrinth and the maze is maze has one entrance, one exit. The labyrinth is the entrance is the exit. So. Yeah. We can always move it, but yeah.
But it is.
It's going to be part of our permanent collection.
Yeah, it's part of it.
And visitors will be able to walk the labyrinth?
Yes. Yes.
You did the same thing about our stainless steel tree. What you got to do to clean that up?
That's where I use the ethanol. So mainly with cleaning with that, if there isn't greasy handprints and there's just kind of water runoff from when it rains, I will take a dry rag and I will get it as lightly damp as possible. Because otherwise, if I just take a fully damp rag, it will just kind of leave more water streaks and kind of make a huge mess.
Crystal Bridges down Bentonville have trouble with the birds are tearing theirs up.
Oh, yeah.
Keep the birds off.
Actually, that sculpture's probably been the least amount of trouble we've had. Being stainless steel is not corrosion proof, but it's corrosion resistant, so it's less likely to develop problems. Also, a lot of that, there's substantial part of that piece that's underground for the foundation. We also have a system called cathodic protection, which sort of has a sacrificial anode that's attached to the sculpture. So it's a magnesium nip chrome instead of the sculpture. So you get about a 10 or 15-year life out of those sacrificial anodes. We do that with oxypain, and we also do it with the Subaru out here on the north.
The big orange
The big
sculpture.
orange piece.
Has it been hit by lightning yet?
No, it has not.
I've seen one strike, and it's on a large tree one down on the corner, and up on the very top, I could see where the coating had been burnt off in a very fine little strike. It was interesting to see it. We prepared it like she would say, if that coating gets broken, then you have to repair it very quickly, and you get corrosion developing.
All right, so if there's no more questions, are you talking about the original color? Yes, that's kind of all the corrosion that you get with, yes. Yeah, are you talking like this type of green, like that kind of minty green color? Sometimes depending like with torso arch, this is actually the patina color. So this is like the original color of the sculpture. And so that, it depends on the piece. With this one, it was intended to look green, like a couple of them, like torso arch. He intended to make those green looking, same, that's not green. Reclining, large interior, or no, sorry, reclining. The one that Anna was working on, I can't, for some reason I'm losing the name on that one. That one was also originally green, and so when she was kind of painting back some of the painting, or when she was in painting some of the patina back, she was using green for that.
Sorry, what was that? The patina is the surface that you see. Yeah. So anything with the surface color, that's what we call the patina. So some patinas are fine, some develop over time. That's a patina on that sculpture. That is an iron oxide patina from being buried in the earth. That stone is usually bright white, but after 1,000 years, 2,000 years of being buried, it took on the color of the earth that it was buried in, which had a high iron content.
So we're actually going to go outside if you'd like to join us. We're going to take a kind of brief walk through the park and kind of talk about a couple things. And also, if you have any more questions, we'd be more than willing to answer them.
Adam,
Which way would you like to
go? Sculpture park.
I think if everyone is comfortable with steps, you can either take them straight through the south door or